All right, let's open her up. Hey, future. That was just us opening the time capsule. As obviously you could tell by that series of sounds that are the same exactly every time. And yeah, we just wanted to let you know that this episode about political ads, we wanted to give you a little preamble to what we recorded.
We messed up.
We done messed up, future. Only in the sense that a little peek behind the time capsule curtain. We record some of these episodes well in advance, and as you may have figured out by some of our maybe potentially belated jokes on current events, but we don't talk a lot about specific current events on this show. So when we recorded this political ads episode in August of 2016, the world was a different place, I guess is how I would put it, at least politically.
Yeah, we had not reached the event horizon that was the election of Donald Trump, a lot of which in his campaign flies in the face of everything that we say. Like, a lot of what we say in this episode is how important political ads are. And I think the 2016 campaign of Donald Trump proved that that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, and we in general try to avoid saying things that are going to timestamp, and we obviously knew that the election was going on, but that we were going to release it later. We weren't sure exactly when, and so we just, for the most part, avoid talking about either candidate or how their campaign was going, because it wasn't really the point of what we were talking about in this episode. But because of how things have gone since we recorded, it's going to probably seem a little odd that we don't mention them really at all. But we wanted to give you a heads up on this President's Day, which is when this episode is actually airing. We hope, unless it's, if you're hearing this on Halloween, then we done fucked up again. But yeah, I just we wanted to give you a little heads up that this is going to talk about politics, but in a fun and lighthearted way, and in no way going to really dwell on the events of recent months in a good way or a bad way, whatever your deal is.
But we're not afraid. We'll talk about it if we have to. Don't make us turn this car around.
Yeah, this is not us avoiding the issues of the day. This is us having recorded in the issues of a previous day. So what do you say, guys? You want to reseal this time capsule to then be to let them get into the real show?
Yeah.
All right, let's seal it up to then let it be opened and then sealed up again, I guess.
The world has ended. Everything that remains of humanity's culture is stored here in this podcast, a time capsule assembled by three white dudes from what was once called the Midwest. This is not everything. This is not most things. But this is it.
Hello and welcome to another episode of This Is It, a pop culture podcast for the end of the world. I am Sam Webb.
And I'm Gabe Webb.
And I'm Daniel Osborne.
And every episode of This Is It, we try to figure out which bits of pop culture need to be preserved for the inevitable heat death of the universe. We want to preserve just the best stuff for you guys to understand what it was like to exist in the cultural climate of our modern time, right? It's like a seed box, but for video games and movies and music and stuff.
I see ourselves as a modern homemaker's companion. You're busy. You're busy staving off alien hordes, or riding on the back of your shield down a mountain that's crumbling around you.
Yeah.
Things are going rough, and you just don't have time to watch every episode of every sitcom that came out in the late 90s. So we're here to distill it all down for you in neat little nutrition pellets, like you're very familiar with.
Yeah.
I mean, in the future, you're going to have the same problem that we have with people in the 1800s. They all dressed the same for the entire century.
Yeah.
In our minds.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, if you show up in a some kind of hoop skirt
a
hootenanny,
I believe a bustle, maybe somewhere
made of whale bones,
yeah,
to the wrong social function in the wrong decade, they're
Yeah.
gonna be like, "What's up with this girl?"
Yeah,
We're here to keep you from doing that.
Yeah, we're here to prevent the modern equivalent of a whalebone hoop skirt fiasco. Be it, as long as it's related to things that were on television or on the radio.
And I know whale bones are things you're probably pretty familiar with, given the number of dried up oceans in the future. But in our time, whale bones are hard to come by.
Yeah, just so we're clear, whale bones used to be inside a thing called a whale. It's a large mammal that wasn't just a pile of bones at one point. You may not have experienced it sitting there in the year 2018.
In the Marianas Valley.
Yeah. But yeah, Dan, what is our topic going to be today?
Today we're talking about a very specific slice of culture that we like to call the political ad. Now, in our time, in our country, every 4 years there is an election for who gets to be head boy in charge of the country, or girl. So far, only boy. The head boy or girl in charge of the country, called the president. And there are also other lesser head boys and girls in charge of other things that we write in little slips and put it in boxes, and those are counted, and the person with the most of them gets to rule us. And in order to convince us to put their name on a slip of paper, the candidates run advertisements on TV and radio to try and win our vote. And so we're talking about a number of those today. I know that, Gabe, going chronologically, you have our oldest political ad.
I believe I do. Which I think to fully be, because it is actually before the era of visual media.
Sure.
I feel like we should just take a moment to listen to it.
Yeah.
Oh, who has heard the great commotion, motion, all the country through? It is the ball a-rolling on for Tippecanoe and Tyler too, for Tippecanoe and Tyler too. And with them will beat little Van is a used-up man, and with them will beat little Van.
Tippecanoe and Tyler too.
You play it on
But Van is a washed-up man. What?
You play it on on that.
Oh.
I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah, so this is for the election of William Henry Harrison, or as he was colloquially known at the time, Old Tippecanoe, and his running mate John Tyler, who would later become the president after William Henry Harrison died after 30 days in office because he refused to wear a coat. And I think this has the hallmarks of a lot of the things that I think later become defining traits of political ads, in terms of, one, bolstering the credentials of the candidate. Old Tippecanoe being a sort of nickname he picked up through victories in the various conflicts against Native Americans on the frontier of America at the time. And then throughout they refer to Van Buren as a washed up man or a used up man. So again, bolstering the credentials while also simultaneously diminishing, especially in ways that imply that they are not tough or feeble.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, it's just like so catchy.
Yeah.
It just sticks with you.
No, it definitely does.
Yeah.
I like that.
You'll be singing it for a long time.
Yeah.
Just like we have been
Yeah.
ever since then.
Yeah.
It is the number one song of all time. Just so we're clear.
It's always on the airwaves, especially around Christmas time.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Take that, the alphabet song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So Gabe's brought us Tippecanoe and Tyler too. Sam, what about you? Political ads.
I when I think of political ads, one of the first things I think about is just the weird way that Gabe touched on, that even way back in the day, that candidates choose to eviscerate their opponents and just downplay their successes, and a lot of times, like, really, it's maybe the only instance where two people who are someone who's trying to put themselves in the highest office in the land, someone who's trying to prove that they are such a good person, will so aggressively attack the character of the person they're running against. And I feel like one of the biggest examples of that and its effectiveness is in the Bush-Kerry election, where George W. Bush ran the Swift Boat ads, which sounded like this.
John Kerry gave the enemy for free what I and many of my comrades in North Vietnam in the prison camps took torture to avoid saying. It demoralized us.
Crimes committed on a day-to-day basis.
He betrayed us in the past. How could we be loyal to him now?
Ravaged the countryside of South.
And essentially what they're doing is just having John Kerry's character just called fully into question, like that, and it was a very effective ad at the time that essentially, like, the other specific quality that I think is interesting to note is that it's not like George Bush does not appear in that ad, and like the mention of George Bush does, even though it's clearly paid for by people who are in support of him, that it's actually it's one of those ads where it says that it's paid for by Swift Boat Veterans for Truth. So like everyone knows what's going on. They know that George W. Bush wants this ad to be running, but they are hiding behind this like other organization that is just trying to assault the character of his opponent, which is something you can't do and get away with in most areas of polite society, but for some reason we totally accept it in political ads. So I think that's a really fun example of just the craziness that political ads can get up to.
I think that dovetails in really nicely to one of my favorite examples, kind of legend, an ad that only aired. It was so shocking. It only aired once from the mid 20th century. I think the late 1960s was an ad run by the Lyndon B. Johnson campaign, in which it's just a serene pastoral scene of a girl picking petals off of daisies and counting admittedly very poorly. 1, 2, 3. She gets up to, about 5, and instead, the screen freezes and starts to zoom in on this child's eye, and instead of her counting up, it's now a cold, monotonous countdown of 5, 4, 3. I mean, it actually sounds like this.
6, 8, 9,
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
And the loud noise you hear at the end is the sound of a nuclear explosion. The not subtle implication here being, if you don't vote for Lyndon Johnson, the world is going to end in thermonuclear holocaust.
Yeah.
Now, you know that that's not what happened,
Yeah.
but it was a serious fear in the late 20th century of the United States and Russia both had nuclear weapons, and widespread use of those would lead to humanity's inevitable demise. And this just stark choice. You can choose Lyndon B. Johnson or extinction of the human race. And there's just no gray area there. I guess it's not a direct assault on character, but it is.
It's definitely like appealing to this, that it's giving such gravity to the choice and really not allowing it to seem like a choice. Like it is definitely doing what a lot of political ads since then have done, where it's implying that there is only one rational choice, and that the alternative is essentially you choosing to destroy your own nation in whatever capacity.
If you don't vote correctly, you hate America.
Yeah, and that you and your children will die.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that is so frightening about that ad in particular, is just how insidious the personalization becomes. Like, it's so transparently manipulative to just have to make the face of the ad, the only face in the ad, a little girl, and juxtapose her with a mushroom cloud of fire, which, fortunately, to my knowledge, we haven't seen since. But who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows what crazy ads you came up with, Future?
Crazy Future. Probably beaming them into eyeballs and stuff. You crazy kids.
All right, who's got our next one? Who's up next?
I think kind of jumping off from the crazy level at which people attack. This ad always springs to mind for me because it's not an attack ad, but it's actually a response to absurd allegations.
I think I know what this is going to be.
let's just listen to it because it's way more fun than me explaining it.
I'm not a witch. I'm nothing you've heard. I'm you. None of us are perfect, but none of us can be happy with what we see all around us. Politicians who think spending...
I'm not a witch.
That's Christine O'Donnell. She is running for office, and her opponent, during the course of their campaigns, her opponent apparently decided to start referring to her previous involvement in a Wicca organization and then tell people that she is a witch.
A literal witch,
not
just a derogatory word for a mean woman.
They were not joking. They were claiming, if you vote for this person, you will be electing a witch. And so it was so bad in this congressional race that she had to put out an ad that you just heard that humans watched on their televisions, that she had to write or pay someone else to write, that starts off with her telling you just like, no, I'm not a witch. Which, like, it's like getting in a fight on the playground where someone says you pooped your pants, where eventually you have to be in this weird state where even if you're trying to take the high road, you do have to say out loud, I didn't poop my pants. Like, there's only so high you can climb once you start responding to stuff like that. And I feel like this is the best example of just like bizarre insults that get thrown around.
And we can't omit the really important element that is the visual.
Oh yeah,
because
Future, you can't see it, but
while she is denying with her voice that she is not a witch, her shifting, smoky background does not shake the image that maybe she's stirring a cauldron full of toad toes.
Yeah,
in order to like turn you all into swans.
Yes, it's very like it's a weird. I mean, I understand that she shot it probably like, you know, just to hit default on whatever the like green screen background was, but like, you know, there had to have been less witchy looking green screen backgrounds. Like there aren't any black cats or like or brooms, but basically short of that, you are looking at a woman who is not doing a very convincing job of telling you she's not a witch.
Right, like short of cackling and like the sound of a creaking door in the background, like this could not get any more dissonant in terms of both trying to reassure me that you aren't a witch, but also perpetuating that you are a witch.
At the end of the ad, it doesn't say, but it should. I'm Christine O'Donnell, and I approve this message. Abracadabra! Vote for me!
What's great is to think of how many people, because the reason that this was not in any of our congressional districts, but the reason we all know about it is because it got national coverage. The story of the person that was running against her who started all these rumors was not national news. So for most people, this woman is just famous for being a witch, which we didn't know about until she started telling us that she wasn't a witch. Because it's like two kids got in a fight on the playground, and then one of them, in their anger, made a national ad that said, "I did not poop my pants," which makes it seem an awful lot like you pooped your pants.
Right, there's an element of like, the woman doth protest too much.
Yeah, like, if you're not a witch, prove it by getting on this stake and letting us try to burn you.
Right.
Like, do you sink or float? Or just don't address it?
Fun fact, sink or float is currently how our listeners determine their leaders.
Yeah, sorry to confuse you guys with our differing political systems.
So we focused a lot on the attacking, because the attacking, let's be honest, is fun. It's actually part of the horse race and the enjoyment of it. If you're sadistic like I do and enjoy, or more masochistic and really enjoy subjecting yourself to political ads. But I just want to focus on the part with my last one. I want to throw to just the banality and the plainness and tedium of campaigning and campaign ads. So let's listen to this one from then President Barack Obama.
Over the next 4 months, you have a choice to make. Not just between two political parties, or even two people. It's a choice between two very different plans for our country. Governor Romney's plan would cut taxes for the folks at the very top. Roll back regulations on big banks.
In comparison to nuclear explosions, or calling someone else a used-up man, or denying that you're a witch, this is just Barack Obama being the very genial and likable, just sort of public figure that we've all grown pretty accustomed to. It's images while he's talking of him interacting with and just engaging with the people, and this kind of soft focusy kind of way that's supposed to just make us feel warm, make us feel like we like this guy. And it's not flashy or exciting. It's frankly pretty boring.
Yeah.
And it is a lot of what this is about, and I feel would be very amiss if I didn't share with the future that sometimes political ads are just dull, and you just want to like finish watching Bones. and this crap pops up on your screen every 4 years for the entire month of October.
Yeah. No, I think there is one final thing I would want to throw in, and it's not an actual political ad, but I think if we're trying to help the future understand in as few steps as possible, like what political ads can be capable of, I feel like this segment from an episode of Arrested Development is a reasonable sample.
Steve Holt is a bastard.
He doesn't even know who his real father is. What else don't we know about Steve Holt? George Michael Bluth is a cool guy. His dad
Steve Holt's a bastard.
I like this one because it has all the elements we've already talked about of attacking and like outlandish claims and just really shifting the narrative in this weird direction of like this person's horrible. And it really, like, because it's a show and because it's a parody of actual political ads, you get to just really see that like element of like smiling and punching someone in the face. Like that is just this weird system. The system is established this weird way in which we allow politicians to just sling mud and pretend like they're good people at the exact same time. Even when the mud they're slinging is incredibly personal and has very little to do with what running a organization or government actually involves.
I think that's a classic. Yeah. And I on one hand pray that the day doesn't ever come that a real political ad shouts out, "My opponent's a bastard." But let's be honest, I think that'd be kind of terrific.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got Tippecanoe and Tyler 2. We have what's your first one?
Swift Boats.
Oh, right, okay. All right, so to wrap up, we have Tippecanoe and Tyler 2. We have Swift Boats. We have the Daisy Girl. We have Christine O'Donnell denying that she's a witch. We have Barack Obama talking to regular people. And Steve Holt is still a bastard.
Yeah. I feel like that covers the...
I feel like that covers the whole gamut.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, shall we seal up this damning evidence of our failure?
Let's seal it up.
Let's seal it up. This has been This Is It. I'm Sam Webb.
And I'm Gabe Webb.
And I'm Daniel Osborne.
All right, let's seal this thing.
Seriously, don't vote for Trump.
Tippecanoe and Tyler 2.
That is a used up man. That is a used up man. That was beautiful.
I feel like we might be able to use that.
Yeah.